We started to see like, oh, there's a lot of money out, for a week rental out here. During COVID is really when it took off. I rented it out the whole season. There was like weeks I was getting like 17,000 a week for the house.
$17,000 a week for the house?
17,000.
It's my great pleasure to welcome Ann Marie Folan to the show. Ann, thank you for joining me today. A lot of people look at Airbnbs and like, hey, like it has the cash flow. But for you, you're not optimizing strictly for cash on cash.
Definitely not. I'm optimizing for equity, but even though my cash flow, I'm sure is like low, I am buying my third house, basically borrowing 100% out of my equity.
Amazing. I think that's one thing that's less talked about and less understood, but I think it likely is going to appreciate. And if you can get someone to kind of pay for that appreciation by paying the mortgage to short-term rentals, like amazing. Welcome back to STR Like the Best. I'm your host, Michael Chang. It's my great pleasure to welcome my good friend, Ann Marie Folan to the show. Ann Marie, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Michael. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking time. It's such a beautiful day in New York today. Ann Marie is also lives in New York like me, and weather's been just fantastic the last week, right?
Oh my God, it's amazing. And today I just came out from the Hamptons and the sun is here from the Hamptons to Manhattan. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, no, you've done amazing work in Manhattan and in the Hamptons, and that's kind of a big topic of conversation today. So you and I we met through social media, and I had the pleasure of seeing one of your beautiful homes in the Hamptons. You're also a very well, like I don't want to steal your thunder. I'll let you introduce yourself, but you have a great business here in Manhattan as well. So why don't I give you like 30, 45 seconds, maybe talk about you and introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure. Thank you. I'm a real estate broker here at Douglas Elliman in New York City. I am actually a former real estate attorney. I had quit Wall Street, kind of very similar to you. And I think that's why I really resonated with watching your stuff. I had been working in the corporate world. I grew up in a real estate family. So I was raised in Queens, worked with my mom and my sisters. But then I took what I had learned from my family and basically applied in Manhattan. So I'm a real estate broker in Manhattan. And then on the side, I invest in real estate and I like to spend my summers out east in the Hamptons. So I kind of, a couple of years ago, got a property and just kind of started like that.
Awesome. No, and we're gonna dig into that. But let's just touch a little bit about Manhattan real estate. I think it's like a great mystery for people that don't live in the city. They see like
Yep.
the big like $100 million for like a condo on Billionaires Row. And maybe let's talk a little bit about your business. Like, where do you specialize? I think a lot of real estate people listen to the podcast too. So we just talk a little bit about that. Like, where do you specialize? Like, what do you do in Manhattan specifically?
Okay, so I live in a place called Sutton Place, which is Midtown East on the East River. It's a small community in Manhattan. And because I live here, I kind of just started selling real estate in my neighborhood and I've, developed a reputation in my community. I do sell everywhere in Manhattan. I have a beautiful penthouse I'm representing on 130 William Street for $8 million right now. I have a gorgeous 2-bed at the Mandarin Oriental Hotel condo at 25 Columbus Circle. That's 5.6. So I kind of go everywhere in Manhattan, but it's easy for me to like walk outside my door and show my neighbors. And I sell residential properties, in Midtown East.
Awesome. And like Sutton Place, like you can see the UN building like right over, right?
Yes. So the UN is in the 40s. I'm in the 50s. So the Sutton Place basically goes from 52nd Street to, let's say, 59th Street.
Oh, okay.
Sutton Place, maybe to like First Avenue. You're pushing it when you get to Second Avenue, but it's like a small little community, riverfront community.
How much real estate did you sell last year?
I sold 50 properties.
Wow.
Yeah, I was busy, and I'm on track for the same again this year.
Yeah, one a week.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I just don't stop. So
I know, and that's why like when we first talked, and I really resonated with you as well. I like people with like infectious energy. I'm actually going to dinner down at Manhattan later today, so maybe I'll pass by your listing at 130 William.
Yes.
And good luck with that listing. No, so like you and I, we connected because you have not only built a really cool business here in New York, but also short-term rentals in the Hamptons. Like when we first talked, like you asked me, you're like, hey, I see what you're doing in Tennessee, and had like we have our 6 properties that we own down there, and you're like, oh, maybe I should expand down there, like but so I think that's how you and our conversation first started. But maybe
Yep.
just talk a little about like what is your current portfolio what your current short-term rental portfolio in the Hamptons look like?
Okay, so I have right now, I own 2 properties in East Hampton, and I'm under contract for a third that I'm going to close on next week, and that's in Sag Harbor, which is the town next to East Hampton. So it's basically 3 properties. They're all single family, except for the new one I'm closing on. It is a one family, but it has an accessory unit on it, so I can stay in the main house, and then I can short-term rental the accessory cottage.
Amazing.
And it's in like a little river. I can see the water from my house. So it's in this little, there's a beach like 2 blocks away. So it's this like cute little, like I would say even like fisherman's village.
So let's zoom out, right? Because a lot of people here aren't from Manhattan, not from the city. We call it the city. And
Yeah.
they hear about the Hamptons and like these crazy parties. Like Michael Rubin has his like white party out there, and like everyone sees all this like crazy stuff, $100 million homes and everything. Maybe just set the table a little bit. Like, why are the Hamptons so popular? One, and two, why is it so darn expensive?
So the Hamptons, it's just once you get out there, there's just a peace. It's you go to the beach every day. The restaurants are lovely. I don't know, it's my happy place. And the Hamptons is funny because yes, there's lots of high rollers out there, but I consider myself pretty low key. So like I had one of my girlfriends from Boston, she came down, she goes, Ann Marie, show me all these fake houses in the Hamptons. I said, Karen, I don't know them. I just go to my place and then I just go to the local restaurants. I just do my thing. I'm joking, of course, because I know where Bon Jovi lives and I know all the Lily Pond Lane and all the fancy areas, but it's just very peaceful and the beaches are beautiful and it's just green trees. Where I'm located in East Hampton, it's like 12 minutes outside of the village. And so I'm in the woods area and it's near a little bay beach and you can walk to the bay. And it's just very, when you work in Manhattan, you can be in a crazy mindset because, you're just work, work, work. It's like, crazy. But once I get to the Hamptons, I'm like, it's like a de-stressor
Yeah.
for me.
So do you think that's why it's so expensive? Is like, obviously people in Manhattan make, fairly high income, a lot of very
Yeah.
high stressful jobs too. Banking, finance, media, law, whatever you want to call, and a lot of industries, right? And then you think that's, just because people just want somewhere that's close by that they can drive to and, get that peace of mind.
I do. Yeah, I do. I think it's close. I think COVID also really helped the Hamptons market. It definitely doubled the prices, in my opinion. And I think once people got a taste, it's like, what happened in Florida. Once you got a taste of, I don't want to say like the good life, but you see that there's a difference. Like I love Manhattan and I love living here, but I am always on. But when I get there, I'm able to chill. So
No,
there's something.
there's something to it. Yeah, no, and thank you again for inviting my family and I out to one of your houses in East Hampton, the one that's in the woods, but like right by the bay. It's a beautiful home. I think that was the first one you bought, right? That was the first
Yes.
one you bought. So maybe talk us through that a little bit. Like, I always love talking about numbers. You know me. Let's talk about that. Like, first of all, how big? How many bedrooms, baths? Let's go to the whole real estate thing. How much did you buy it for? And when?
Okay, so I bought that property in 2015. It's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, single family home on, I'm going to say it's a little over a half an acre.
Mm-hmm.
And funnily enough, I am from Queens originally. So I did not grow up going to the Hamptons on my summer vacations. I didn't even know what the Hamptons was. I'm regular, humble, working class family. We didn't know what the Hamptons. My parents are from Ireland. So if I did go on vacation, I was going to Ireland and England to see my grandparents. There was no Hamptons. So I had owned with my sister, we came across, because we were in real estate, we had bought this like 15 apartment. We got a very good deal on it years ago when we were younger. And it was like in like Jamaica, Queens, not a great area. The apartments were, only because we got them for a steal is why we grabbed it, but they were like derelict apartments. We were 2 Irish girls and like We were in over our head with the 15 apartments and people not paying rent. And I had to go to court, and they, one of them showed me a picture of a mouse, and I was in over my head. Okay. So I had been to the Hamptons, I would say maybe twice. But I had a friend that used to go out there, and she was telling me how amazing it was. So one day I said to my sister, I go, I've had enough. I just gone down to like housing court, and the woman pulls out a mouse photo. Why she want to pay rent? And I'm like, I don't know how to, what I'm doing here. So I said, Deirdre, let's get rid of these properties. And why don't we flip this into the Hamptons, buy something in the Hamptons. Let's get something in Florida. Let's do 1031s on this. So I call up a broker for my company. And again, I told you, I've only been there like twice. I know nothing about East Hampton, but I knew it was pretty from the times that I was there. So I said, Hara, I am coming out this week and I'm doing a 1031 exchange. I work in real estate. Do me a favor, set up 20 houses for me. I'm ready to buy a house. He's like, I'm sure he didn't believe me or whatever. He doesn't realize that the Folans are crazy. We'll buy it on the spot if we like it. And so I call him on Thursday to check in. Hara, what do you have for me? He's like, Ann Marie, I can only get 12 houses. I said, nope. You're not listening to me. I'm really coming out to buy a house this weekend. Please get as many on the roster because I've got to go back to Manhattan the same day, back to work. So he gets like 12 or 14 on the list by the time the Saturday rolls around. We go around, me and my sister, looking, and we're like, no. Like just, you just get a feeling, by house number, maybe he had gotten 16 on the list. And by house number 12, we found the house that you stayed in. We looked at each other. We were like, for like two Queens girls, this was like we had made it. Do you know what I mean? The house was they were asking, I think they were asking $950. And we offered, so on the way back, we wanted it. We started shaking hands, me and my sister on the property, like, this is it. This is our dream home. Because we saw the pool, and it was like, then we saw the little beach in the neighborhood. We're like, we don't need anything else in life. This is it. So on the way back to Manhattan, I have an accepted offer on the property. And we had loved everything. I think the final price we agreed on was like $944, which 44 is also our lucky number. And it was kind of funny. So we bought the furniture, we bought everything. And we said, we'll pay all cash doing a 1031 exchange. And this was like May. It was actually Mother's Day, May 12th, because it was my daughter's birthday. And so we want to close in 2 weeks because we wanted to be ready for Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, wow.
We're like, we're ready to go
New
here.
New York State 2-week close. My God. Okay, so you had no
I
banks.
know.
You had no banks, so okay, it was easier then.
Yeah, we had no banks. We had the cash to do it because we done like a reverse 1031. So the money was sitting there. We just literally needed to find something. So we closed, I think it was like June 4th. We had them clean the pool the weekend before, so we knew when we arrived we could go swimming that day. And so that's what happened. And so then at that point, we were like, we didn't even know anything much about short-term rentals. So our goal was to like enjoy it too, and then do some rentals on it. So we got a few rentals that summer too. And then we started to see like, oh, there's like, this is kind of like, I don't want to say easy money, but like there's a lot of money out, for a week rental out here. So then we started doing that every year. So we started like, fixing up our Airbnb and VRBO for bookings. And then in 2018, my sister wanted to, she doesn't really love the short-term rentals. So that wasn't like and the Hamptons really wasn't for her either. So we did a switch because we also owned another property in Queens. So basically I gave her that. She gave me this fully. And then that was 2018. During COVID is really when it took off. I rented it out the whole season. I made a lot of money. There was like weeks I was getting like $17,000 a week for the house.
Hold on, let's pause. $17,000 a week for the house?
Yes, 17,000. It was insane. So there was no way I was going to stay at that house. I just couldn't, I couldn't believe it. But that's what COVID did.
Right.
It's not like that now.
So what is it now though? Actually, I think a lot of people kind of like, oh, that was COVID. Yes. And is it back down to like 5,000? Is it 5,000 a week now? What is it now?
No, I have a few weeks booked at 11. I still have empty weeks. So, I mean, I wouldn't let it go for, I think $8,750 would be the lowest I would do on the house. Mm-hmm. But like between $8,750 and 11. And more for July 4th and more for the last 2 weeks of August.
Of course. So those are prime time. So, but let's go back to the house. Yeah. All right. So you bought it for $944 in closed June of 2015.
Yes.
You're just split it, but now you own it fully. So
Yeah. Yeah.
let's talk a little bit more numbers. So like, what is a house worth now? Ballpark.
I would say it's about 2.1, 2.2.
But two and two, so that's like
Yeah.
1.2, 1.3 in equity, right?
But I did renovated guts. I did put new siding. I put new roof on it. I new kitchen, bathrooms. You know what I mean? So I did gut it.
Ballpark.
And I'm
How
always
much did you
like,
put in?
I would say I'm almost 300.
Like 300. Okay, so are your
Yeah,
bases? Let's say your bases is 1.25, right?
about that. Yeah,
Oh,
ballpark. Yep,
1. Point,
three maybe
1.35. Sorry,
Yeah, when I'm
1.35.
44. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And then 1.3. Let's say 1.3. It's worth 2 point. Let's say 2 point. This is round up. 2.3 million dollars in equity, right? But I think what people forget is okay. So you're up in a million equity, right? You put 1.3 down, right? It's ballpark. You've also made a bunch of money in the 9 years that you've owned it too, right? Like maybe
yeah.
just ballpark. What kind of cash flow do you think if you did 10K a week, high seasons in this Hamptons are 10 weeks, 100K, maybe 100K a year.
I think I got 125 gross last year, and then obviously I have expense because I have a mortgage and tax and all that stuff. But I would say 125 last year. I forget when I got during COVID, but it was way more. I think this year maybe I'll get 100. My goal is to be able to, if I get 100 gross, I feel like I'm okay because it's paying my bills. I'm building equity. That's kind of how I look at it.
So, and I think actually, like, let's dig in on that because I think that's a really good perspective because I think a lot of people look at, and that's the fun part of real estate. Everyone can see, you and I can look at a property and come to do two very different conclusions, and we both could be right for ourselves, actually, right? So I think that really is the beauty. It's like, what are you optimizing for? And a lot of people look at Airbnbs and like, hey, like it has to cash flow 50% cash on cash, 20% cash on cash, whatever that number is, right? If you're in the mind of a cash flow investor. And Cam, that's more like me, right? Since that's like my main business. But for you, and I want you to say in your own words, but you're not optimizing strictly for cash on cash. Like you're
Definitely not.
optimizing for,
Mhm.
why don't I let you take it from
I'm
there?
optimizing for equity. And I think what I've been able to pull off. So, for example, like house number 2, which I just would like, I bought that for 9.25. I put about 6 into it. And that house is probably worth 2, 3. And I finished that last June. So I'm pulling in big equity in these jumps. But what's nice about, even though my cash flow, I'm sure, is like low, I am buying my third house basically borrowing 100% out of my equity on my property. So I feel like I'm getting a third house for free because I'm going to use the 2 houses to pay for all 3.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a
So
mortgage
that's
on? Do you have a mortgage on the third house,
yes,
or is it just
yes,
okay? So
yes,
you've
yeah,
kind of borrowed against to get the equity out to put in the equity for this new place. That's I think you said like 975. So maybe 150, 200 in on a new place plus the mortgage on.
I'm paying all. I'm buying that third place for 899. All of that is coming off my properties.
Oh wow. Okay. So
And yes,
okay.
yes,
Okay. Oh
yes,
okay. I got it. I got it. So you're
yes,
basically pulling on equity to buy the house. Then you're
yes.
that house is free and clear ish,
It'll
right? But
be
you have the
little. It'll be everything is paid for. The way I put it all in one kitty, and
yeah.
like the 3 houses are paid for the 2.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll have a few bucks left over. That would be great.
for the fourth house, for the fourth house.
That's
Um,
the goal. That's the goal.
but let's talk about that because I think that's one thing that's less talked about and less understood. But I think how most people, especially if you have a very good job like you do, like selling 50 plus properties per year, you're making good money from your business, right? You're
Right.
making 6 7 figures, whatever the number is, and you're reinvesting in, I think, one, you're reinvesting in real estate because you get the tax benefits from being a real estate professional, and two also is you're buying great properties in great locations. It may not cash flow day one, but if you have a house next to in the Hamptons next to a walkable to a bay, right? Like 12 minutes in the village, it
Yeah.
likely is going to appreciate. And if you can get someone to kind of pay for that appreciation by paying the mortgage to short-term rentals, like amazing.
Yeah. And it's the way I view it is in the summer, I really try to stick at a minimum of a week. So I kind of limit my time too. So like I do have my cleaning crews, let's say I do a turnover. I've been lucky the past couple of years. I was able to like keep the turnovers on the same day. This year it's not working out the same way. And that's okay. I'm going with the flow. but I'm investing a few hours. I have a cleaning crew go in. I happen to be out there. I like to just check. I also like to have my homes really spotless and phenomenal for
Your
guests.
home's real, like there weren't even scuffs. I mean, like Liz and I, when we went to your place, we looked. I was like, oh, there aren't even scuffs on the. You have that staircase that
Yeah.
goes up to the main level, the living room and the dining area, and I was like, there's no scuff marks here. It's amazing.
Because I clean it weekly. I go around with the magic eraser. The cleaners do their job, but then Ann Marie Folan comes in and does her
No,
job.
I know
The
it was
psycho.
amazing because your house is all white too. I was like, wow, like this
Yeah,
is some real
I'm
attention to
obsessed with
detail.
it because I want to make sure that like I want them to stay nice. So I'm really on top of it, and I enjoy it. Like my sister's like, you could delegate that to somebody. I'm like, nah, I kind of like it. I'm obsessive.
So let's talk about the second house because like you and I both love real estate. So second house, sorry, remind us against the numbers. When did you close? How big? How much?
I got that one for 9.25. I closed fall of 2022, but
Okay,
it was a
close one.
cottage and it was
Okay.
like in terrible condition. I knew I was going to gut it and put on an extension, and it was like I think it was a 2-bedroom house, and I convert and maybe 2 bathrooms. It was tiny, but then I reconfigured it. Basically, when I say I added an extension on, I made a nice, beautiful kitchen. I made the master bedroom, primary bedroom. I put that over the kitchen also. So I expanded that. I put ensuite bathrooms on all bedrooms, and I added a powder room. So I got that into a 3-bed, 3.5, and that's on an acre of a property. It has a beautiful pool. I had to do a lot of landscaping on that. I knocked down, trees to make the pool sunny and just, really show how expansive the space is. I spent about $600,000 on that project. In the Hamptons, it is expensive to renovate, and it wasn't. If I had had more money, I think it probably would have been good to actually knock it down and make one of those McMansions out there. Like I would get maybe like a 4,500 square foot house because it
Mm.
has that nice lot. But again, this is all a learning experience. And so I turned it into like a 2-3 house, but probably could have been maybe closer to 4. But I would have had to invest more money to do that.
How much more time? And I mean, look, I think a lot of people, including me, one, it's a lot of money, right? 600K or more if you were to do it. And most of that's, it's hard to borrow. I mean, you can borrow against that.
Yeah.
Did you borrow against that? Or did you get a construction loan?
I did have to take out a HELOC, but remember, I make in my business a lot of money. So I was kind of using my real estate checks as they come in to like knock it out. Now I kind of left myself tight because, I make a lot of money, but like it was all going on renovation. I have to pay,
Yeah.
I still have to do advertising and stuff that run my business. So I did take out a HELOC on my property last year just to kind of give myself some breathing room. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I had been like really just, yeah, I'm sure people wouldn't be doing it the way I do it. I was using every real estate check that came in but I still knew that once it's done, it's going to be phenomenal and I was going to make money on it. So I just kind of went with it.
You sent me it looks very, very beautiful. I saw the photos that you sent me the other week. Liz and I both looked at it like, oh, this is really, really, really
It's
quite
pretty.
nice. And
It's
then,
pretty.
yeah, it's really pretty. I think he'll do. And, I think out there, really, the prereq, you got to have a pool. Yeah, like a nice pool, not just a little glorified swimming hole, like a nice pool with a deck and like finished deck. And your properties really kind of do espouse that. So, and it's just like really pretty too, the way that you've done that. So, really
It's pretty. It's
well done.
clean. And I've
It's
booked
clean,
that
yeah.
one out. I have like 3 or 4 weeks booked so far at like 14,000 a week on that one. So you know what I mean? Like and I'm still like negotiating, I have inquiries. So I'm like, that's pretty good.
You got leads. Leads are a
I
lifeline
got
and a
leads.
lifeblood of any business. So tell us about your third. Tell us about your third one.
So the third one's the small one. It's a 1-bed house on a very small piece of land, but it's right in this little waterfront community at Bay. And so it's cute for me and my daughter, which is perfect to stay in because I love to be in the Hamptons. But it has this little cottage in the back, which the current owner, she's an STR investor also. So I was like, and I know she's savvy because she has properties in the Smokies and Florida. She's on it. And I'm like, you know what? Success leaves clues. Um, and so, yeah, so I'm under contract. I'm going to close on that. And she said you can get between 400 and 900 a night for the accessory cottage. But 900 would be, I guess, holiday weeks and maybe
Yeah,
they
like
have the,
fourth or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
or the Hamptons Classic, which is a horse race the last 2 weeks. But even 400 a night, that's okay. That's, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going off to dinner now, you know?
Is there a pool?
No, no pool. But the beach is 2 blocks away.
Okay. Okay.
But I might put a little hot tub on that one because that would be cute for me and my daughter, you know?
Yeah. No, hot tubs are one of those amenities that like really drive returns. I mean, like hot tubs, like all in, maybe cost you 10K with electrical, and then put the landscaping and the padding and everything, and then but they really do kind of, especially during the winter time, it really does help occupancy. We see that in Smokies. We're buying this property. We're not telling people the exact location yet, but where we are there, like you definitely want a hot tub, and we're not going to put in a pool too. And especially I was talking to Liz about this when last week when we had really nice weather, and we went to Target. We bought like the little waiting pool, and then ran the hose, and we're like,
Yeah,
oh
yep.
man, like this is exactly why we need to put a pool in that new house, because like every parent is going to be like, man, I wish we had a house with a pool, right? So, as a short-term rental investor, a real estate investor, and as a hospitality person, like, if we're feeling that, we have two young kids, like
Yeah.
there are plenty of other parents like us that had the exact same thought. So, like, there's a market there for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, market there for that. So, and not everyone can kind of head out to the Hamptons. So, well, that's great. Like, I mean, so maybe let's talk about like operationally, right? And I think that's something where like you're really busy, you're a perfectionist. There's some growing pains there that like, now your third one, like how are you thinking about managing all this? There's a lot of magic erasers you gotta have in stock to get all the scuff marks out.
Yeah. For now, it's manageable. In my mind, I have obviously goals and I do want to get more, especially like in my mind, the way I view it is I'm like, well, every year that I have a great real estate year, or maybe every 2 years, can't I put a down payment together and get something else? Like that's how I'm viewing it. So for now, it's manageable, but I do think, I mean, could I hire someone to do the scuff mark? Maybe, and we'll see what happens this summer. You know what I mean? But I also want to teach my daughter. My daughter's 15. I
Mhm.
do want to teach her how to get your hands dirty because that's how you learn. You know what I mean? So like I'm obsessed if I can see a spot, but that I learn because I go around with my eraser, I catch everything. I think it's okay. She sees me working hard, but I do want to teach her this too because like I'd like to get her going when she's,
Mhm.
20, 21 kind of thing too.
Yeah, no, it's now being a father too, like just like how do you transfer some of these skills to your kids? Like whether and also both our kids, like whether they want to be real estate people or entrepreneurs, like that's on them and they'll find what they enjoy and love. I think for me as a parent, it's like how do I like instill like a work ethic and like attention to detail to them and like and I think more just kind of like thinking for yourself a little bit. I think that's
Yeah.
like the big part of entrepreneurship. And then, and being a real estate agent is kind of being an entrepreneur too. You have the Douglas Elliman logo, but I mean, fundamentally, people are still hiring Ann Marie Folan. And how do you? And I think a lot of the challenges of running your own business is like, how do you think for yourself? Like, how do you problem solve? How do you see an opportunity where like people don't see it? Because that's the definition of opportunity, right? Like it's not consensus. It's like if you know, everyone loves Apple stock, right? Well, obviously, because it's everyone knows that opportunity is there, right? It was probably a better opportunity 20 years ago when everyone thought it, kind of written off for dead, and that was when you would make the really, really big returns. And I really think about that now that my kids are getting older and older, and like, how do I teach that to them? And I'm just curious, like, your daughter's 15, mine is not even 3 yet. Like, how do you raise great kids to I think for themselves?
Well,
Easy
I will
question.
say this. I do push my daughter. She is a great kid anyway, so I can't take all this, but I do push her. Um, and, I get her excited. I am pushing her into leadership stuff. I did get her a public speaking coach, for example, when she was younger. And I had her when she was younger start a kids mastermind. And I would teach her. I'm into Tony Robbins. I'm into personal development. So I'm like, these are things I want to teach her at a young age. So, for example, I got her the confidence code for girls and we went chapter by chapter and I made her take notes and basically learn it. And then like, I had her do like a little mastermind for kids. and it was all free based, but just to be able to teach younger kids about confidence. And she was just learning it and then teaching it. So that she has those skills. I do send her, I took her last year to a youth leadership camp in California for Tony Robbins. He picks kids from 14 to like 17. And it's like I think it's 4 or 5 nights, and you stay there on the University of San Diego. So she did that. She came back. She met kids from around the world. She
Amazing.
met there's a gentleman that has like no hands, no arms, and he's an inspirational speaker. His name's Nick. I forget his last name, but he's phenomenal motivational speaker. And he spoke to the kids. She met another woman, for example, who was molested by her father, and she had an amazing comeback story. And she like inspired the kids. And so I'm sending her back again this summer. She's getting on a plane by herself. She's 15. She's going
Oh.
straight to California. She's going to have to take her Uber to the university. But I'm making her do that because when I was young, my parents used to put me on a plane, not for luxuries because they couldn't afford their ticket. They used to put me on a plane to like England and Ireland to see my grandmother. Do you know what I mean? But that's what
Yeah.
immigrants did. They just flop you on the plane, and you know what? My grandmother
Yeah.
would be on the other side, and there I'd stay for the summer. But so I'm like, you know what? I did it at her age, and I did it way younger. She can get her ass into California, and I know she's going straight to the university. I already did the trip with her last year, and now am I nervous? Yes, of course I am, because I'm probably like, but it's good for her to be independent, and like now she's on student government, so I push her, and she naturally is a leader, but I do encourage it, and
That's
so
great.
yeah, I love all that
No,
stuff.
that's great. It's lovely how you've been able to combine like your real estate career and like building the life that you want and having the resourcing to give the opportunities for your kids. And I think all of us as parents, like that's all you really can hope for, right? Like you
Yeah,
kind of yeah, like you work hard, so you have enough resources to like give your kids opportunities that you want them to have, whether you had it or not when you were a kid or not. Like more just like now, like being able to give them that. And like for us, like we're blessed that we're able to build this real estate business now that we can both be at home when our kids are young. We can still be here every day at home and not have to travel and teach them all these lessons. And I think for me also just like what I really when my wife and I talk about like philosophy, it's like building resilience. And I think that's such a key component to like self confidence and personal development and just being a high achiever and just everything, right? Just like nothing ever goes in a straight line in business, especially, right? Like
yeah,
nothing goes in a straight line. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. And the people that are ultimately successful are the ones that can pick themselves up when they're having a bad day and still like get their stuff done because like those days that you compound when it's not going well for you, it really elevates those days when it does go well. And you're going to be you're going to move that much faster and quicker than candidly the majority of people that like I'm having a bad day, so I'm going to sit around and like watch Netflix and lament
yeah,
about like what went wrong versus being like, all right, I had a bad day. All right, fine. Take 5 minutes. I had a bad day. All right, cool. All right, this is my to-do list. I'm gonna knock it out, and tomorrow I'll be better because ultimately, life. If you believe life's in your control, then I think that's the right
yeah.
mindset. But the thank you very much. I mean, I know you got to hop, and I really appreciate you spending time with me today. Folks that are interested in the Hamptons, your story, they're in Manhattan, they're looking for a great real estate agent. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram. I'm Ann Marie Folan Real Estate, which is ANNMARIE Folan, as F is in Frank, OLAN Real Estate. Or you can give me a call at 212-350-8511. Is that what people do?
No,
But I'm at
that's great.
Douglas Elliman in Manhattan. Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll put your Instagram handle in the show notes, and we'll put her number too. So if you guys have any questions on what she's doing, and feel free to reach out to her, send her a DM, give her a call or text. I'm sure she'd be happy to
Yeah,
give
I
you.
would love that.
Emery, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. I love catching up, and
Yeah,
I'm
thank you,
sure we'll see
Michael.
each other soon.
Yes, awesome. Thanks so much.